Hello and welcome to Horse Sense. I'm Mohit Lalwani to bring you all the best horse racing from action and the rest of the world. And of course, everything that you needed to learn about horse racing. Well, on this episode, we begin with something very special. It is one of Singapore's most important races. It is the Emirates Singapore Derby. The Derby is the most sought after race by every owner, and it evokes memories of great champions of the past. Every country that takes its racing seriously has one to boast of, and while each may vary in terms of the distance, the surface, the conditions and so on, one thing is common to all derbies: the fact that it remains unmatched in stature and scale, and it is the race that every horse owner, trainer and jockey wants to win. And the Emirates Singapore Derby is no different. But what makes the Emirates Singapore Derby even more special is the fact that it is the longest running sponsorship in the history of Singapore racing. For the past 20 years, the partnership between Emirates and the Singapore Turf Club has evolved to make the Derby the most awaited event in the social and racing calendars, making it bigger and better with each passing year. The race holds a purse of 1.15 million Singapore dollars, and only the best 4-year-old horses make the cut. It's run over a trip of 2,000 meters on the turf and is the third and final leg of the Singapore 4-year-old challenge after the Group 2 Stewards Cup and the Group 1 Patrons Bowl. Some of the names that have gone on to achieve glory in this race are Lim's Prestige, who took home the race in 2007, the champion mare Jolly Shinju, the 2009 winner, Better Life, who won the race in 2013, and of course the versatile champion Spalato, who won it last year. "14 runners were declared to start this year, and it was therefore not surprising that each of the connections wanted the advantage at the post position draw.
So gate number 10 for Absolutely, for the famous. It is Order of the Sun and Harrier 4. Gate number 1. How about that? And let's have a look at the barrier. 13. For the silks that in fact will be wearing 11. So lucky 11. Keshwa, the Gold Cup winner, has gate number 12. So there he goes up on the board. 14 for War Affair. Only one runner here in Singapore in the International Cup where he struggled a little bit, but he gets a great chance from gate number 2. Too much of an issue, gate number 9.
In the parade ring on race day, all eyes were on the favourite War Affair from Alwyn Tan's yard. The Bay Gelding had been the standout 3-year-old in 2014, but did lose his way in his last race of the year in the Group 1 Longines Singapore Gold Cup, where he just never got an opportunity to switch off over the grueling journey of 2,200 meters. Given time off after that, he reappeared only in April and showed that he was clearly back to his best. He stunned the sprinter Zach Spirit at the Group 1 Lion City Cup before winning the first 2 legs of the 4-year-old challenge under the able handling of the Epsom Derby winning jockey Alan Munro. In his last start, War Affair had comfortably held off Quechua from Pat Shaw's yard, but that was over a mile. Quechua would be stronger over the 400 meters more, as was evident from his victory in the Gold Cup when he had War Affair in 5th. With his regular ride at the Melbourne Cup winning jockey Corey Brown on board, this was a clash that was shaping up as the race of the year. In fact, so convinced were the spectators that this was a 2-horse race, the next in the markets was Fastnet Dragon at nearly 4 times a higher price in the market. The 14 were soon mounted and were on their way to the start of the biggest race of their career so far.
Gates are back. They're racing in the Emirates Singapore Derby. Husey was a little bit slow out. Away quickly, Order of the Sun going straight to the lead. And up on the outside going forward is Ideal Guide. In fact, trying to come across. Fastnet Dragon, the rails. Coptato just off them. Keshwa rolling up on the outside. He's going to be ridden up there. Next is War Affair getting across to be 3 out as they leave the straight right of Valkyries. Over on the inside, Seabros is ridden a lot closer than normal. They were followed by Absolutely Blue Swede, then Husey, Twickenham, and last of all is Night Wager. They work towards the back, 1,450 metres to go, and Woodworth trying to steady the tempo with Order of the Sun. Shows the way a length and a half. Keshwa worked around a second. Fastnet Dragon, the run of the race, third over on the leader's back, followed by next of all Ideal Guide. Down on the rails is Seabros. He's only around about 3 or 4 lengths from the leader, so he's very handy. In fact, is caught out a shade wide. Coptato between horses. Next of all is War Affair. He's in 3 wide, but he's got a little bit of cover there from In Fact. Twickenham trying to move around the outside. Just ahead of it is Absolutely Right of Valkyries. Then came Blue Swede. He's third from last with Husey. And last of all is Night Wager. Coming down the side in the Derby, and Order of the Sun, the VRC St Ledger winner from Australia, shows the way. Order of the Sun. In second position is Keshwa, followed by Fastnet Dragon, Ideal Guide, Seabros over on the inside, Coptato. Then In Fact, now Munro allows War Affair to stride up, but he's pushed out 4 wide. Followed then by Rider Valkyries, absolutely between horses. Next of all in a packing field is Twickenham, followed by Husey, Blue Swede and Night Wager. Into the straight, the Gold Cup winner Keshwa reached the lead. Ideal Guide coming after him. Order of the Sun. Here comes War Affair down the middle of the straight, and he runs on quickly. War Affair goes to Keshwa in for the fight. War Affair poked his nose in front. Keshwa won't go away. War Affair, Keshwa, stride for stride in the Emirates Singapore Derby. Keshwa, War Affair, Fastnet Dragon the inside. Keshwa wins the Gold Cup Derby double. Gets in by a head over War Affair and Fastnet Dragon.
Very nice, obviously very good win for this horse, you know. We always had it in sight, but then when a horse like Warfare comes along, you always got your doubts. But he fought him off well. Yeah, obviously we had to go forward. Corey always wanted to be forward, and that I left up to Corey, and obviously great ride.
It was beautiful, Gareth. Jumped really well. He was actually on his best behaviour today. He can get a bit hot and bothered, and today he's really relaxed. And not that I was nervous, but I thought I hope he switches on, because I don't want to be getting back or midfield and getting tangled up, because I didn't feel there's a lot of speed on paper. And once he jumped well, and I just let him roll and handled up outside the leader. I wouldn't say it was all over. I know I've only won by a head, but I had a pretty soft run outside the leader and went to him as I want. I noticed War Affair coming probably about the 200, but he wasn't coming with a massive rush. And the moment he got within a sort of a neck of me, I thought, he's going to have to be good, you know, because this horse is tough. He's a tradesman. He offers everything. He's not brilliant or flash, but he just gives 110% from the 200 to the winning post, and he just managed to fight him off. And it's pretty tickled pink about it. You know, he's been a great horse to me in the pattern. You know, the owners have been really good. I don't really ride for the stable, but I was lucky enough to pick up this horse, and I've had a lot of luck on him. So thank you to them and everyone else involved.
Keshwa and War Affair both were drawn outside, and while Keshwa rolled up second, War Affair was yet again racing wide. While neither gave an inch, Keshwa's better position through the race possibly helped him to hold off War Affair. Flying home after running out of space in the closing stages was Fastnet Dragon, who could have been considered a tad unlucky here. At the end of the day, however, it was Keshwa who pulled off the Gold Cup Derby double.
Present the trophies for the Emirates Singapore Derby of 2015, won brilliantly in a thrilling finish by Keshwa, raced by Avengers Stable. Please make welcome to represent the stable, Ms. Emily Huang. Well done to Emily, and well done to Avengers Stable, pouring the support and money and energy into Singapore racing. They've won a Gold Cup with Keshwa, and now they've won the Emirates Singapore Derby. Congratulations go to Emily and the Avengers Stable. They'll receive a Derby trophy as well as a return business class ticket to Dubai as well, courtesy, of course, of Emirates. Well done to Emily. Now I'd like to invite the winning trainer, Patrick Shaw. Well done to Pat. This horse has been terrific for Pat. He's now had 13 runs in Singapore for 5 wins. And that's his second Group 1, sitting rather nicely alongside the Gold Cup. Well done to Pat Shaw. Pat will also receive the a Crystal A380 model plane from Emirates, as well as a return business class ticket to Dubai as well, courtesy of Emirates. Well done to Pat Shaw. And please make welcome now the winning jockey of the Derby, Corey Brown. Drawing wide but going forward on Keshwa, and he put a nice little gap between him and War Affair, and it came down to a bit of a struggle in the end, and Corey got the best out of Keshwa to win. And a Crystal A380 model plane coming his way, courtesy of Emirates, and also courtesy of Emirates, a return business class ticket to Dubai as well. Well done to Corey Brown. And of course Pat Shaw and the Avengers stable with Emily Huang. It is Keshwa who takes out the Emirates Singapore Derby of 2015.
Well, and during the SIA Cup 2015, we have a man who comes from a family of blue bloods. Racing is about pedigrees, and there are very few men in this world who have achieved as much as Freddie Head has. When you talk about Willie Shoemaker, Lester Piggott, you talk about Freddie Head in the same breath. Freddie, thank you for speaking with us. Let's start at the very beginning. I mean, you've got horse racing running through your veins. It's your grandfather was a rider, your father was a jockey as well, and a trainer, and your sister. I mean, it's in your genes, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. All my family comes from the beginning of racing in England, and they were based in Newmarket before moving on to France, the late 19th century.
All right, now for you, I mean, when did you first even sit on a horse?
I think it was 5 or something like that. My father put me on a pony, and from then on, I thought I was going to be a jockey all my life. Like, you know, young guys, they want to be pilot or I don't know, and I always thought I was going to be a jockey. And finally, I got the right size and the right weight, and that's what my dream came true.
Now, being a jockey is more about just getting onto a horse. It's about understanding horse flesh, and I think the great ones are those who, well, instinctively understand horse flesh. But how much of it was natural? You know, how much of it was the surroundings around you? Because at the end of the day, you had the best around you.
Yes, of course. It's very special. I mean, jockey, you need to know the horse, but on top of that, it's a sport. Physically, you must have the right physique to be able to ride, and it's quite tough. I mean, it's very hard discipline. You have to watch your weight and be as light as you can, and all this makes it very, very funny and amusing. It's a great job.
All right, now let's talk about your life as a jockey. Let's talk about some of the big wins. I mean, you've won it all. There's really nothing that you haven't won, but there's one special moment that I want to talk to you about. You rode Ivanjica to win the Arc in 1976 for your father, and then 3 Troikas in 79 to win for your sister. How special were those?
Well, they were champions, I think. 3 Troikas were perhaps one of the best horses I ever sat on. She was a real champion. And so was Ivanjica, winning a mile like the French Guineas, and then afterwards winning mile-and-a-half Arc. She was very special. They're all champion. When you win the Arc de Triomphe, you must have something, a real horse under you.
For you, looking back at your career, what would you say were some of the moments that even now, when you look back, you know, make you feel warm in your heart? What are those that really gave you satisfaction?
I think the greatest moment, the moment I will always remember, is winning my first Arc. It was for my grandfather. He was training. I was 19. I was the youngest jockey to ever won the race. So that has started all my career. I think from then on I was a different man, I would say. And then afterwards, winning, well, all the great races I've won all over the world, winning like the Breeders' Cup twice, And 20 years ago or 25 years ago, it was something. I mean, it's not like today where we travel more, but Miesk was a fantastic horse too. One of the best, maybe the best I've ever ridden.
Well, let's talk about Mies because it was at a time when I was. I remember seeing her win the 1,000 guineas over in England, and she had a woolly coat on her, and clearly she hadn't come there to win a beauty contest, but she absolutely demolished that field. But the Breeders' Cup, for a European horse to win in the US was always very difficult. I mean, even great ones like Dancing Brave went out there and failed. And then the following year, you came back with Miesk, and in 88, again with Miesk. Describe that entire experience to us. I mean, take us through that race, because especially in 88, at one stage it looked like she wouldn't get through.
She was very special. Loved the pace. She needed pace. And of course, in America, they set off quite fast, and which things we don't do at home in France. And she was at her best, and she could take any race. She was tough. She had the speed. She could stay. She was a real champion, a real champion. And of course, winning Breeders' Cup at that time was very special. And to win it twice, she was the first horse to do it. So that was something very, very special.
Yeah, the Americans must have been very, very shocked, no question about it. Freddie, let's talk about the transformation from jockey to trainer. It isn't always easy because it's a different trade, it's a different skill, and it requires a different kind of temperament as well. Even Lester really couldn't do it too successfully. But let's talk about how you've been able to manage this transformation, because you've had some great horses, Moonlight Cloud, Olympic Glory. It's just been a fantastic transformation.
I know that's very special. It's the thing I'm always thinking of. I mean, you see, I'm from a trainer's family, and I knew from a long time that I would become a trainer, even in my riding days. So in my head, I knew what it was going to be. And of course, from your jockey, you're alone, you have nothing, you're just a saddle, a pair of boots. And suddenly, as a trainer, you have people under your care, you have, wages and things like that. It's quite a different. It took me a few months, even a few years, I would say, to make the, transition. But I'm very happy. I was very, very lucky to train such champions that I have trained. And of course that helps a lot. I have very good owners, and so all this makes it much more easier, I think, I would say. But I mean, it's very funny. Sometimes I say, well, you come from what was your jockey, what was it when you were a jockey? Now I forget a bit. It was my dream, so I think now I'm leaving the ordinary life, and I have been a jockey, that's it.
Now, when you're a trainer and you've been a jockey as great as you've been, achieved as much as you have, there are times when you can't help it. You're sitting in the stands, but you are an armchair jockey, because you're saying, all right, now go there, the gap's opening, go there. What's that like?
Yes, that's true. That's true. I think it helps a bit, because I know what jockeys feel like, and I know what's the race, what they feel during the race. But I'm very easy for jockeys. I never give them too much orders. I know it's a very, very difficult job. So I leave the guy, I just tell him to do what they can. I tell him about the horse a bit, but that's all. You mustn't, give too many orders to jockey, because then you get them a bit messed up, and they don't know what to do. It's a job you have. It's when the gates open that the race, that you feel the race, really. So you can't do much. But sometimes I would like to be in the field.
Yes, I can imagine, especially when there's, a bit of it, when you're saying, all right, switch out now, and I can imagine that. Freddie, I mean, I'm very old school when it comes to horse racing, and I've, seen some greats, and I'm sure you are as well. What are some of the things you'd like to see? Racing, of course, has become such a commercial game. today sometimes one worries about the fact that the commercial is overtaking the passion and the sport. What are some of the things you'd like to see come back into the sport of horse racing?
Well, no, I think it's going the right way. Let's say it's a world over now. I mean, you come from France to Singapore, then you go to Hong Kong or anywhere. I think that's how it has to be. I think it has to become a wide world affair. And but of course you've got places where it's going a bit better. I think in our countries now it's not going so well in Europe right now. I think it has moved from the Far East now, and all the big action is in this part of the world, I think, nowadays.
I think that's the global trend in all segments of commerce. But for young riders, for young professionals, not just riders, but even those involved in the sport, what advice would you give them?
Well, to do what they like, you have to like the horses and try and do your best. And now you can see a lot of movies and films and things about horses and horse riding, and I think you have all the tools to become a great jockey if you want to.
You mentioned Singapore. Now you've been to Singapore before. I know this is the first horse you're bringing here as a trainer, but you came as a rider and rode at the Bukit Timah racetrack.
Yeah, that's very funny. They found that it was in 1983 that we came. There was a European team. We were four jockeys: Lester Piggott, Joe Mercer, Pat Edry, and myself. And we used to go around the Far East, Hong Kong and Penang, I think, and we rode against local jockeys, and it was great fun in those days. And they don't do that anymore. It's a bit of a shame. And of course, all this is a great souvenir when you're with people like they were. I mean, champions and great ones. It's always something very, very valuable.
It certainly is. And finally, outside of the world of horse racing, I'm sure. I mean, I've lived a trainer's life, so I'm sure outside of the world of horse racing, there's very little time for anything else. But who is Freddie Head? What does he like to do outside of horse racing?
Well, not much. I think I had more times when I was a jockey to sort of playing golf and things like that, which I don't do anymore. So I've got quite a large family, so I look after my children and I take a little rest. I read a bit. I like reading, and well, like anybody, and really all things is around horses. Really, it's a bit that is my life.
And family, you mentioned next generation of heads continuing in the world of horse racing.
I have a son who worked with me. Now he's working with my sister cricket at home, and he wants to become a trainer. So I hope all will be well for him, and he can achieve his dream too.
Well, I'm sure he will. This is a book that is hopefully not going to end. We're going to keep writing chapter after chapter with each generation. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Freddie, and good luck.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Well, and that's all we have on this episode of Horse Sense. As always, thank you for joining us. Till we see you on our next episode. Goodbye, and as always, may the horse be with you.